Hello and welcome. Since we haven't been able to travel recently due to COVID-19, I thought I'd revisit one of our old videos from 2012, a driving trip through Europe. The original videos seem more like a slideshow with some narration, so hopefully these new ones will be more informative and entertaining. One of the things that I did find out while researching these is that very little has changed over the last 10 years. So anyone using these videos for research for a vacation, most everything in them is current and relevant. So I hope you enjoy sharing our driving trip through Europe. We're starting a 25-day driving trip through Europe in Amsterdam. Unfortunately, our flight was canceled, and we were rerouted to Frankfurt, Germany. We now have a 5-hour layover, causing us to miss our city bicycle tour of Amsterdam. We were discouraged from trying to go into the city, so with plenty of time we just grabbed something to eat. We're staying in the small city of Haarlem, finally arriving at our hotel about 9:30 that night. We're up early the next morning, hoping to get some breakfast, before taking the train into Amsterdam. But being a Sunday, everything was still closed. Tomorrow is Queen's Day, and we saw them setting up amusement rides for the big celebration. Haarlem's a smaller city, about a 30-minute train ride outside of Amsterdam. It has a lot of the same feel as Amsterdam, but definitely won't be as crowded on Queen's Day. One of the first things you notice in the Netherlands are the number of bikes. They are just everywhere, outnumbering the cars and the pedestrians combined. Finally getting into Amsterdam, it was still hard to find a place for breakfast. We ended up having the worst breakfast of the trip at this little storefront bakery. We're scheduled for a bike tour through the countryside, with Joyride bike tours. We got to our meeting point early, but there wasn't much to do. While we were waiting, Marianne visited a unique public toilet, where the walls were all made of glass. Once the stalls were locked, the glass was supposed to turn opaque, but most people couldn't get them to work. It wasn't long until we met our tour guide Alan, and we were off to our first stop.
So this is the Vondel Park, guys. This is one of my favourite places in Amsterdam. As you can see, it's a hive of activity at the moment. When the sun comes out, every little square metre of grass in the park is jam-packed full of people having a bottle of wine, having a picnic. A lot of people. There's a bit of a smell in the air that you've probably smelled in Amsterdam already. Some big fat cigarettes. So it developed a real reputation, particularly through the 60s.
Oh yeah.
For
coffee houses.
Well, I mean, there's the coffee shops in Amsterdam, but this park particularly had a real reputation through the 1960s.
It's not really legal, is it? It's just not.
It is legal.
Oh, I thought it wasn't legal, but it was.
So what is legal is you've got about 200 coffee shops throughout Amsterdam, okay? And it's perfectly legal to go in there and buy up to 5 grams of cannabis for personal use, which you can smoke inside the coffee shop. Now, outside of the coffee shop, that's where, well, I've read many things that say it's not legal, but you could seriously go up to a police officer with a joint in your mouth and get your photo taken with it, and they won't even bat an eyelid at you. So it's a very liberal attitude.
Our tour lasts for about 12 miles, mostly on bike paths, first through the city and then out to the countryside.
Thank you. Have a good day.
One of our stops was Boosbaan, the oldest artificial rowing lake in the world, and is used as an Olympic training center. Our last stop was a cheese and wooden shoe factory called Rembrandt Hoeve, Hoeve meaning farm in Dutch. This is a duplicating lathe that they're using to make wooden clogs, somewhat unsuccessfully. We also got to sample some Gouda, tasting the difference aging makes. We enjoyed the smoked Gouda the best and bought a small wheel that was made somewhere else. Our bike tour ended about 2:30. Plenty of time to enjoy the Queen's Day Eve festivities. It is said Amsterdam's population will double this weekend, and yes, these are portable open-air urinals to help handle the crowds. Everything is being decorated in orange, and people are encouraged to wear orange to honor the Dutch royal family, the House of Orange. Starting our tour of the city, we stop here at the Bulldog, one of Amsterdam's famous coffee shops, where we bought some magic chocolate cake, locally known as space cake. Nearby, we visited Bloemenmarkt, a floating flower market. It really wasn't that impressive, mainly selling bulbs and seeds, most of which couldn't be brought into the United States. This presentation caught our eye. It's for a Lush store, and it managed to get us inside for a look around. It wasn't long after that when we started feeling the effects of the space cake. It was definitely a challenge, spending the rest of the day trying to get through the carnival-filled streets back to our hotel. Well, we're safely back in Haarlem, and it's Queen's Day morning. Besides the partying, one of the other activities of Queen's Day is the nationwide flea market. It's the only day out of the year the government permits sales on the street without permits or taxes. Stopping in at St. Botho Church, we were in for a treat with an entertaining Queen's Day Mass. After leaving the church, we grabbed the gelato and wandered some of the canals, before taking a bus to Keukenhof Gardens. Keukenhof, translated as kitchen garden, incorporates over 7 million flower bulbs over its 79 acres, and are only open 8 weeks out of the year, while the flowers are in bloom. Before starting our walk, we stopped to enjoy this wonderful calliope. The colors of these tulip fields seem totally unreal. They're so vivid, it even hurts your eyes just to look at them. A temporary indoor exhibit they had was of orchids from around the world. We're back in Haarlem, and the Queen's Day street parties are in full swing. The next morning we pick up our car and drive over to Aalsmeer, the world's largest flower auction. Here they're bidding on the trolleys of flowers paraded through this room. This is a Dutch-style auction, where the prices start high and work their way down. This is the warehouse floor, where each one of the carts are rerouted to their new owners. This all dates back to a time when they used to use bicycles to move these around. Watching this massive confusion, I've got to think there must be a better way. So we're leaving the Netherlands for Germany. In our next video, we'll be visiting the city of Cologne.